with all those challenges, are there some benefits that you're starting to taste, or starting to get some experience with that are even more exciting?
I think the Generation D is exactly right, and I actually find that the most challenging people we have, as far as a digital sense, in the digital sense, is actually our retirees, who have a hell of a lot of time and a big computer, and they spend a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it translates into the number of phone calls and the length of the phone calls that you get on this, and I think it's important that you have to recognise that there's a whole group of memberships that start to develop right in that space, who actually do think of themselves as digital gurus, and are only going to get worse, and are only going to dig harder and harder through the websites, and we're finding that quite a lot. We're getting a 30% growth into our pension division, and so we're seeing more and more of that happening at that space. And I think that's where I think we've got some real opportunities, moving away from the traditional junior people of investment choice and all that sort of stuff, and moving into some more retirement-based advice is probably something that I'm seeing rapidly improving.
Perhaps some benefits from us with the end-to-end solution that Decimal offers. We've now got an end-to-end record of, through Click to Implement, an automated SOA production. We've now got essentially an end-to-end record of advice being provided and that advice being implemented for the first time. In the QInvest business, we deliver about 14,500 pieces of advice, scaled advice to our members, which is about 2 to 3% of our membership that we touch every year. Now, I'm new to the role, so I've been running this part of our business for the last 4 months. And the first report I asked for is tell me if that investment is actually resulting in implemented advice, and has it actually improved the retirement incomes of our members? And no one could give me that report, because we're manually producing SOAs. We've got no tracking on whether that SOA is resulting in an advice implementation, and then no reporting on whether or not that advice has resulted in an improved retirement income. So now I've got that kind of analytics that tells me whether in fact the advice that we're distributing actually ends up in an implemented outcome that actually improves the retirement income for the member. So that's one thing that's very beneficial for us, and we intend to grow off the back of that. We've noticed that we had a range of disengaged members, so we have re-engaged a range of members through this. But the obvious benefit, and I spoke about scale before. As I said, we've been in the advice business for roughly 22 years, and we've only just managed to deliver 14,500 pieces of advice this year. We rolled out 3 of the advice topics, went live with those 12 months ago, and we're on target to deliver 10,000 pieces of advice this year. So in 1 year, since startup, we've essentially touched 10,000 of our members. Now, there may be multiple members within that, versus sort of 14,500 pieces of advice through traditional human-based channels. So, and I can also track whether or not that's been implemented, and then whether or not it's actually resulted in improved retirement income. So,
Andrew, have you got any comment on benefits?
Probably just to add, similar to what I talked about before, that it really has improved our ability to deliver phone-based advice and workplace advice far more efficiently than we've been able to in the past. So end-to-end delivery of advice on the spot when the member requires that advice. So that has been of benefit for us. My hope also, and similar to Robin and to Matt, is that over time we will see an impact on retirement outcomes. Because that's why we wanted to put this in place, that people are making decisions to deliver better retirement outcomes. I think what will happen over time is similar to when that thing called the internet started, and we were giving access to the web in the sort of mid to late 90s, that everybody thought, oh well, that's great, the number of calls coming into the call centre will drastically reduce, and what we actually saw obviously was an exponential increase in engagement and people interacting with the fund. And my hope is that we see exactly that, similar to your numbers, Matt, where we're seeing an increase in members taking an active interest in their retirement, leading to those better outcomes.
I was just going to say our phone scaled advice team, they have been tracking implementations numbers for quite some time, because one of the things that we're always a bit shy on is whether scaled advice is actually ever used. And our implementation rates are sitting at 70%, and that's where the members have gone and done the action on their own. And I think that's a really incredibly high number of money. So for those who may not think scaled advice is actually useful, a 70% implementation from a member doing the process themselves is I'd say is quite high.
Just quickly, one of the things we couldn't show you, but we'd be keen to is for the marketing people, your member education, member engagement area, the ability to trap the information in terms of who's engaging how, whether you want to call them Gen X, Y, D. Clearly, there's about 24 more segments left, because that's how many letters of the alphabet we have. We'll be able to feedback, or you'll be able to do it yourself, to really understand who's engaging what, so that rather than have a static topic list like you saw, the ability to do that dynamically based on who's logged in, or the ability to proactively target those different segments in your organisation, that's not even around the corner. That's really just get this up and running, and that's one of the reasons why we've pre-configured this. We chat to so many strategy people in your organisations, and they're under a lot of pressure, because this is really serious stuff now, and you want to get it right. And just complementing what Nick said early, it's kind of like, you know, maybe the first user of these are some of your strategy people, to get it going, to really start analysing what the scope might be. But completing that loop in terms of the analytics.
And just to follow on from that, it just triggered another thought in terms of the importance of data. And the use of data in all our organisations now to really inform, to your point, Jan, as to who has got the greater propensity to want face-to-face advice versus, say, some robo-advice or workplace advice or servicing. The use of data is driving everything that we do as an organisation now, probably more than it ever has.
Yeah, just wanted to pick up on the data point as well, actually. So the interesting trend that we're seeing across different industries, but in particular in financial services, is around the rise of social and customers and colleagues and employees utilising and engaging with social outside of the key transaction organisation that they're using, perhaps in this case for financial advice, to talk about it. And the more you know about your customers, the better you're going to be armed for the discussions that are going to happen, for the advice that you're going to give, because the customers and the employees are now doing a huge amount more discussion outside of your direct realm of your organisation and the interactions that you're having with them. So it's not just the Generation D, maybe it's the Gs, the Hs, whoever they are, but customers are now locking into talking about what they do with financial advice in various forums, whether they set them up themselves or whether they are pre-set up forums, to actually get almost a peer-to-peer advice precursor to how they then do their self-directed advice and then maybe lock into the organisations.